Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Dan here. Today I'm talking to you about Samurai 8. So Samurai 8, The Tale of Hachimaru, was published in Weekly Shonen Jump. It ran in May of 2019, ended in March of 2020. And this was written by none other than Kishimoto himself of Naruto fame. And this is drawn by Akira Okubo, also of Naruto fame, as he joined the editing team back around volume 16, whenever that was published. Been there ever since, and now he's teaming up with Kishimoto again to bring us this sci-fi samurai series. Let's get into this, man. 43 chapters in total. This series did get canceled. So this is a story about a young boy named Hachimaru who was dying at birth and was forced to be connected to this life support system in his house. It's this very large thing, cables on his head, all over his back. He can't really go anywhere. He has to stay home, and his body is even frail. He can't stand up on his own. He has to use a cane, and parts of his body are very weak as well. He lives there with his father and his dog companion, and then it's here in the story where we encounter I believe it's called like a Daruma. Yeah, and it's sort of like this thing in Japan that they have. It's similar to what the firefighting monkey was in Pokemon Black and White, if you know what that is. Kind of like those Russian dolls. It kind of looks like something in that vein. And anyways, he uses that and he, wants to grant a wish. And then it wakes up and emerges into a cat. And it turns out that this cat was once one of these great samurai within this universe. He got a mission from his master to find a special someone that will be able to locate the 7 keys that are required to open Pandora's box, and by doing so they could save the universe. So that's how it starts off, and eventually it goes, I would say, the standard Kishimoto route with the writing here. Castle Super Beast, right? William Pat. When they mentioned that Kishimoto was coming back to write on Boruto, they were making a bunch of jokes of how he writes when it comes to characters, flashbacks, motivations, character deaths kind of thing. And a lot of that's really here, but there's some other stuff here that I thought was really cool and unique. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that clearly Kishimoto liked in Naruto and wanted to continue using it. So this is a samurai story, and I didn't mention universe, and that's because space is involved. These samurai, it turns out they're cyborgs, and they have a samurai soul that gets unlocked basically when they turn into samurais, and they use that in combination with a bone hilt from their dog companion to create their sword. They could use their dog to create their armor, and then they have these giant ships that they could use to fly into space, and then they could even hop into those. The first thing I thought of, these are just Susanos. Okay, so he really likes this aesthetic, clearly. And it really works. If you remember back in the Naruto days, on the chapter covers, a lot of samurai aesthetic. It was clear he was a fan of it, especially when the samurai were introduced in Naruto, how different they were, and they sort of had their own style that was pretty cool. I was interested at least into what the samurai were in that ninja universe. Going back to what the samurai motif is, it's very interesting how he adds elements of that. So in order to become a true samurai in a rough way, I guess, in a non-traditional way, you could commit seppuku, right? That's stabbing yourself in the gut. And then by doing that, like, your samurai soul would dwell in there. So if you have a high percentage chance of becoming a samurai, then that's how you become one. A bunch of other things as well. Once you become a samurai, you are eventually destined to meet your princess that you have to protect. And then, she is sort of your backup to, help make you stronger by praying and all of that. So a lot of cool ideas sprinkled throughout. And one thing I was worried about was whether or not we're actually going to be seeing some stuff being played out in universe of how samurais act. And to my surprise, we did. There was a point where there was a lot of samurai in one area. This was like the tournament arc of the series. And we actually get to see them team up and, actually do what they usually do. So that was cool. other than that, it's just standard, slightly average Kishimoto writing. There's nothing that really stands out like, wow, Kishimoto's really doing something different here with our characters. It is more or less the same as what he was doing in Naruto, but not as impactful. And I think one of the things that loses its impact for me has to be with the art. I do like the art. It does look a lot like Kishimoto's for sure. And then that's why I kept thinking, reading before I looked it up, was, yeah, this guy had to be an editor, right? That's the only thing I could think of. Sure enough, it is. But my problem is the way the aesthetic of the universe is. So they're not like traditional cyborgs in a sense, the way that whenever they take damage, they can regenerate as long as it's not their samurai soul or whatever is in their head. I forgot the term, but it's like their spinal cord, and then they have like this box on top, and that's like the central nervous system of the samurai or whatever. But the way they regenerate and the way that they equip their armor and their ships look, it's this orb-like soft material. And with that added with the environments, there was a lot going on the page. It looked messy. Eventually it got better towards the end here, but yeah, I just kept looking and you really feel lost into what's going on. And then, eventually we did get one color chapter, right, where the cover really showed what was going on in the scene. And I thought, man, if this whole series is in color, that would probably do it justice, because there's a lot of white, right? Like this material is white. So having that all over the place with the white backgrounds and all of that, not a whole lot of shading in this series. It was really disappointing in the beginning, but eventually he got around to, what he's comfortable with for the art. But unfortunately, with the series getting canceled, we're not going to see the rest of that really shine. Characters are, they are what they are. Hachimaru is basically just Naruto. The way he matures and the way he likes to take responsibility and his feelings for characters, it's just Naruto all over again. Nothing different at all. And then we have his princess Anne. She's pretty cool. We didn't really get a whole lot with her. We just got the base stuff. And, her and Hachimaru's relationship did grow a little bit at the very end, but not enough to really stand out. One of the main antagonists, Atta, I thought his design was cool. Aside from all that, there was, cool ideas here, and it definitely had potential. I was, liking to where it was going. My one big complaint with Hachimaru, I think, was how fast he got strong. It wasn't that long into him leaving his home where we're wound up in the tournament arc, and then, he ends up winning. And I mean, sure, there was some fights right there where it's like, he went out of respect. And then at the very end, of course, he won because his master was participating, and all he had to do was renounce his place in the tournament. As I said in the beginning, Hachimaru never left his home because he was tied to the life support system. Therefore, he never really went out there and saw anything. And the fact, as soon as he got off of that, he started his training, but he still was pretty novice. I mean, literally right before, they had a little training session with him and this other character that they later team up with. And, he was getting his ass whooped. But, of course, he's the main character. This is shonen, and so that's just how it plays out. And the reasoning why he's so good is because when he could do nothing at home, all he did was play video games. One of the games was a samurai game specifically made to try to find these chosen ones that Daruma is looking for, because he built the game. And Hachimaru happened to be number 1 in that game. And so by using that, his intellect is up. One of the samurai said, he must have countless of years of battle experience or whatever. But it's because of the video game, and that sort of helps him get better. So at least they give us the reasoning of why he's so much better than where he should be. And again, as I said, this series did get canceled. And from what I know, they give you a certain number of chapters to wrap up your story as nice as possible. With 43 chapters, I was on chapter 35, and it didn't feel like we were getting to the end at all. Heck, chapter 40, I believe. Let me double check. Sorry, chapter 39, 4 chapters before the end, it was a big moment between Hachimaru and his princess, whose name is Anne. really good stuff. I'm not going to lie. It helped build their relationship closer. You could relate to the characters more, but we're almost at the end. And it feels like we're still in like the first third of this series. Like there was no feeling of it ending. And even up to the chapter 42, it felt like standard stuff. And then chapter 43, super rushed ending. And did the classic thing a lot of canceled series do, is sort of give you a montage of what to expect. As I said, Hachimaru was trying to find these 7 people that are keys so that way they could open Pandora's box. And we saw the rest that we didn't meet up to this point. And some cool designs, I will admit, some standard Kishimoto stuff. But I mean, it sucks to see this end. You know, before I read it, I thought this was a monthly series. So I thought we were going to have a lot more than what we were dealt with. So that is unfortunate, and, you know, Kishimoto now, he's just going back to what he knows best, which is Naruto, as he's writing again over on Boruto. So it sucks to see what happens here. You know, it is hard for, I guess, a big mangaka like this to try to keep himself in the limelight, I guess, you know, because Naruto was insanely huge. What is the series after that? There's a lot of pressure. I think that definitely it is rough around the edges, but give it more time. I think this could have been something. But unfortunately, Jump is as harsh as it is, and that's why we get fantastic series it has, but we don't get a lot of decent things flush out more. So that sucks. Do I say check it out? Yeah, give it a quick read. You know, just give it up to chapter, I would say like 17. Yeah, once we get to 17, that's like after the big moment with Hachimaru and they start going out into space. And we're starting to get to a feel of what the rest of the series is going to be. Before I forget, there were moments where they got pretty ambitious and big with what's going on. A lot of ideas that did get fleshed out at the ending, which is something Kishimoto probably wanted to flesh out more. And yeah, a lot of exposition, but I felt at the end of the day, it was an alright series. It's just unfortunate to see it go. That's all I have to say today, guys, about Samurai 8, The Tale of Hachimaru. Have you guys checked that out? What did you think? Should have this kept going or not? Would love to hear your thoughts, and of course, we'll talk about that on the next episode. And you can email those thoughts on unversepodcast@gmail.com. And if you want, you can follow us on social media at unversepodcast anywhere you go, and we'll let you know when those episodes drop. So thanks, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.